All right, and we are live. So yesterday was the big day. Nvidia reporting earnings, and it's great earnings, but Nvidia is falling this morning. So what's happening there? We'll take a look at this. Also, big news for Google today, and it's not good news. So we'll take a look at this, and then also Bitcoin hits 98,000. Will we see 100,000 this week? We'll see what's behind this and a few other earnings from Snowflake and Gap. Anyhow, with that said, lots to talk about, and welcome to Coffee with Markus and Mark. Today is Thursday, November 21st, and in this show, we're going to talk to you about what's happening in the markets and how we are trading it. And Mark, I'm wondering if we should jump over right to the heat map to see what is happening here. Because the big news this morning from tech, both Nvidia and Google making big moves.
Yes, and it's interesting because there's a lot of green today.
There's a lot of
Stocks
green.
are up, but it doesn't necessarily come through when you just look at the major indices because look at those big red dots or boxes, not dots. What am I talking about?
Right.
Uh, and Google and Nvidia, the two that really stand out. Nvidia's big show yesterday, coming after the bell, reporting earnings. That's what everybody was waiting for. That's what the markets wanted to know. What was Nvidia going to say? And look at this. Nvidia nearly doubles revenue on strong AI demand.
Rising 94%. And then also saying that there's huge demand for the new Blackwell chip and that they're super excited about this. But this morning Nvidia is falling. Why? Because nine, doubling the revenue is still another slowdown from the previous 3 quarters, where sales rose 122, 262, and 265. So if you're used to these numbers and then saying, well, we only doubled the revenue, it seems that the growth is slowing down.
Yeah, and so some investors wanting more, wanting just this crazy earnings report, and it was solid. It definitely was some movement after the bell, and we open higher with Nvidia, but Marcus, we talked about it in our mastermind call this morning. Nvidia down over 5% initially on that earnings report.
Yeah, because here it's about the Blackwell chips, right? And it will ramp up next year. Now, this is where, yes, it is on track for several $billion of revenue in the company's fourth quarter, but it's not there yet. I mean, it's almost like when Tesla was saying, okay, we're really producing the cars next year. And we really ramp up production for the cars. I mean, back in the days, right? And this represent, okay, but where they are. And because this is where we see that both the Hopper and Blackwell systems have certain supply constraints. So the demand for Blackwell is expected to exceed supply for several quarters. That's also not good. It's kind of like, okay, you could make a lot of money and then you can't because you can't produce it quickly enough, right? And especially when it comes to all of these chips and the race in AI and chips. Okay, Nvidia is clearly the leader. I mean, this is why we also know that Nvidia is the largest company, but there's a few others on their heels. And recently, especially Broadcom, AVGO, I mean, has actually gained a lot of traction here. As we can see, it used to be a better from a market capitalization standpoint than Tesla. Has dropped down again, but yeah, you get the idea. This is why, okay, great news and maybe not so great news. So this is where on a 5 minute chart, we see that Nvidia is a little bit all over the place today.
Yeah, starting strong, but dipping a little bit, and not some huge moves. That was the other interesting thing because we've been used to these big earnings swings. Nvidia, it looks like traders are trying to figure out: is this a buying opportunity? Is this a concern? Definitely hoping for more. Although Nvidia still came out with great earnings.
Yeah, I mean, define big swings. I mean, here this morning we look at a 7.5% swing from the high to the low. I mean, I know that Nvidia is very volatile, but that's a pretty good swing that we saw already this morning. Do you disagree? You're being quiet,
It's
like,
all
all right,
relative. It's
whatever,
all
dude.
relative.
Whatever. All right. Then we also have to talk about Google. Look at this. The other huge, big red, shall we call it square instead of dot, on
Yeah,
the heat
it's
map this
not
morning.
a dot. Not a dot.
Google, bad news for Google because of this.
Look at this. Gosh.
So the Department of Justice pushes Google to break off the Chrome browser after the antitrust raid. And this is where we have heard, when was it? Let's actually go to a chart of Google because we heard that the Department of Justice started their antitrust case. When was this, Mark? Do you remember? Was
I
it when
don't
Google
remember.
was sliding here? Was it early September where we heard the news that the Department of Justice is looking into breaking up Google, or was it maybe
I
earlier?
thought it
Let's
was
zoom
even
out.
earlier, but yeah, I couldn't tell you with certainty, Marcus.
Yeah. Anyhow, so earlier this year, or earlier this fall, we heard the news, and now it becomes more specific because at some point traders shrugged it off and say, "Oh yeah, well, Google is being Google, and Google will be fine, right?" And now that we hear the news, no, especially breaking off the Chrome browser, and the other thing is not being able to make it the default on certain devices. I think that is huge, and I think this was the news this morning. Let me see if I can find it in
Yeah.
here. Maybe not. Anyhow, so this were okay. So it seems that they are serious, and Google right now looking at a 5 minute chart, trading at session lows, sliding 6% today.
Yeah, pretty big drop for Google and Alphabet. We'll have to see if it sticks, but um, needing to sell its Chrome browser as part of a court-ordered fix to its monopolization of the online search market, that could be a decent concern for Alphabet.
It definitely seems so. It definitely seems so. And then we also have some earnings reports from Snowflake, the analytics company. And look at that Snowflake this morning up 32%.
Now, that's a big swing, Marcus. You want to talk big swings?
I mean, really, we are at a point where we shrug off 7% swings, intraday swings, and say, "Ah, yeah, well, that's not a big swing."
Not for Nvidia on earnings day. Well, anyway, Snow up huge, huge. Looking at its best day ever after better earnings, just blockbuster earnings, and offering better guidance. So investors are loving it.
Yeah. All right. In other news, what's happening today? So on the economic calendar, we had some. Uh, I was about to say good news, but I mean, at this point, it's kind of like good news is bad news. We had the unemployment claims, and the unemployment claims are coming in lower than expected, showing us the economy is still strong, the jobs market is still strong. Now, why wouldn't this be good news? Well, because it means that the Fed doesn't need to lower interest rates aggressively. And this is what we see today when we look at the Fed Watch tool and what Fed funds traders are thinking. It is now down to a 50-50, almost 50-50 probability that the Fed will either lower rates or leave them unchanged.
That's interesting. That I mean, that's as close to 50-50 as you get without it being 50-50.
I know.
I mean, it's a coin toss right now. I still believe that the Fed is going in thinking that a quarter point is on the table.
Oh, yeah.
I think it could be a nice holiday Christmas surprise for the markets. At this point, more of a surprise since it looks like a coin toss rather than a certainty. But that is interesting to see the shift.
I mean, I'm honestly in this camp. I'm in the camp that the Fed will lower interest rates one more time in December and then probably pause. And this is what we see right
That's
now. Fed funds traders are factoring in that there might be a pause in January. I believe definitely in January. I do believe, though, that we might resume cutting rates in March, in the March meeting, but that's speculative. But I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm with you. Quarter percentage point cut in December and then wait and see.
I absolutely agree. I wish we could make a cookie bet there, but we're on the same page completely.
Yeah. All right. And then Bitcoin. Holy cannoli. Look at Bitcoin up, up, and away. This morning, let me just see here, as high as, where were we this morning? There we go.
98,
98,
367.
370.
Yeah,
Wow.
what a move.
Wow. I mean, this Bitcoin rallying. Yeah, I mean, it started, when did it start here? Early November.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, getting that boost after the
the
election, right?
election. Yeah.
Because there was that first surge Wednesday after the election. It was up nicely with a 9% gain, but then just continuing this rally with traders believing that the new administration in a Trump administration is going to have be more favorable to Bitcoin and have less restrictions.
Yeah. So what do you think? When will we see 100,000? Next week? Thanksgiving present?
No, I think we're going to get it this week.
This week? You think this week we'll
Yeah.
crack 100,000? Well,
Yep.
we'll see, because also Ethereum today up 7%. I mean, big move for Ethereum. Ethereum still trading below its all-time highs. So the excitement is really all about Bitcoin, and it's because we have Bitcoin. It's I mean, everybody knows about this. Then we have all of the ETFs. Yes, we do have a few more ETFs now, also in Ethereum, but I think the Bitcoin ETFs are most popular. So this means that stock traders can trade Bitcoin without opening a specific cryptocurrency account, and this makes Bitcoin just super attractive here.
And for the record, although I think Bitcoin can hit 100,000 this week, and there isn't a whole lot of trading left this week, I don't think it's going to stay above 100,000 this week. I just could see some craziness takes off, but then retreats from 100. So we'll see.
I
Hey, I
really,
like
really,
gold.
really need to find a way to log into my Coinbase account, because I know that I bought it at around I bought it at around 40,000, and I bought it, I think it was here. So I was upside down on it, but now, I mean, it should have doubled, but I can't remember whether I bought 25,000 or 50,000. I mean, not Bitcoins, but worth of
Log in,
Bitcoin. Yeah, I need to log in and figure that out.
sell it, and buy a new car.
There you go. That would be a
No,
possibility.
you're to the moon, right? To the
To
moon.
the moon. Might as well. All right, let's see what else going on. WTF, Eliza. There is nothing right now. So we have absolutely no new signals. We don't have any exit signals. And the only one that is still open is ILMN. We both decided not to trade it. Right now, it's trading slightly below its entry point. So the entry point was at 135, now at 133. At some point, you said that you were interested in maybe using it as an OBE, open below entry. But I mean, at these prices, are you still considering it? Because I know that you were looking to at around 4% drop, right?
Yeah, for OBEs, I would prefer 4% or lower. And I mean, here it's just kind of chopping around anyway. So I haven't completely ruled it out if it moves slower, but right now I'm not interested.
Yeah. All right, hopping over to the wheel trades. And first of all, yesterday, CSIQ had a great day yesterday. Today, pulling back a little bit after being up, what was it yesterday? 6.7%. Right now, down 3%. So, nothing for us to do there. I like yesterday's move better than today's.
It really?
Yeah, just Captain Obvious. You're welcome. All right, now BP. one of the stocks that you're in making a move this morning. So BP up 1.3%.
Yeah, nice to see this one moving higher with crude oil.
Yes. And so is Halliburton. Halliburton finally breaking through, let's see, the 31 level. And we talked about this, that the 31 level was important resistance for Halliburton. Breaking through right now, but the next resistance level is right around the corner at 32. So, or actually, it's 32 and a half. So we'll see if it can break through. And after this, we have just tons of white space to go up all the way, probably to next 35 and then possibly 37. So let's go. I mean, we're getting here in call selling territory. This morning, HL is trading above my break even and now attacking the cost basis. Let's do it.
Yep. Loving it.
All right, KSS Coles. Coles bouncing back a little bit this morning after yesterday, being dragged down by the target results. And at this point, it's really all about earnings coming up in 5 days. So I haven't looked at the earnings analysis here to see what to expect. And okay, Coles can be a little bit all over the place. It seems that the price move reaction on the 7th day is more to the negative side. On average, down 7% or up 3.9%. Okay, so there could be a little bit more of a slide after earnings next week.
Yeah, we'll have to rooting for you on this one, Marcus.
Thanks, appreciate it. And also root for me on Merck. So Merck, today having a much better day than over the last few days. Seems that the fall is stopped here right now, up 1%. So now let's go. It doesn't look really like a V-shaped recovery, but let's start moving higher so that I can sell calls again.
Sounds like a plan.
And our buddy UPS. I mean, UPS. This is where at first UPS was kind of stuck in this range between, we talked about it, 124 and around 132, and now establishing a new range right here between 132 and 136, it seems.
Yeah, so finding some support here, just kind of plugging along today, but looking for a range to the upside now. So time to move UPS.
Yeah, let's do this. Well, let's see what the markets are doing overall right now, because that's it for our positions. But before we do, it is time of the day for another dad joke. Let's see. What do you got for us today, Mark?
Marcus, do you know why most people can't cook alligator?
Nope.
It's because they only make crock pots.
Okay. All right. I mean, decent comeback after yesterday, I must say. Decent comeback. So, all right. You know what? They told me that I'd never be good at poetry because I'm dyslexic. But so far, I've made 3 bowls and a vase, and they're really lovely.
That's nice, Marcus. That's nice.
Okay. All right, you're not bursting out laughing. All right. We'll see what the audience says. So vote for the best dad joke in the comments after the show. And here is where we are. So the S&P 500 now turned positive again after being all over the place this morning. We see it on a 5-minute chart. We opened higher, then turned negative, and right now we turned positive again. The Dow today, the clear leader, because, I mean, in the Dow, we don't have Google dragging down the Dow. Or do we? I don't even know. That's a good point. Is Google in the Dow? No, Google is not in the Dow. So therefore, Google is just dragging down the S&P. So we have Nvidia, Apple, Amazon, and Microsoft as tech stocks in the Dow, as well as CRM. Anyhow, so yeah, this is why the Dow is holding up today, trading at session highs right now. The Nasdaq still negative, being dragged down by Google and Nvidia. And look at this. IWM, the Russell, up 1.4% for today.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Also, I find it very interesting that the VIX today, I mean, after being down below 16 and then scratching 18, right now trading above 17. So there seems to be a little bit of uncertainty and fear in the markets.
It, yeah, it's especially today after Nvidia earnings were essentially flat, which is interesting. I would
Right.
have thought it, and it did pull back a little bit. It pulled back to 1573, but with it being essentially flat right now, that just tells me that investors still expect a little uncertainty here.
It seems so. Anyhow, so we'll see what happens tomorrow. And with that said, hope that you enjoyed today's show. Give us a like if you did. Hit the subscribe button. And if you think that this was good information worth sharing, we would really appreciate if you share it. There's a share button somewhere here on the page. Really appreciate that. And with that said, have a great rest of your day. And then we'll see you tomorrow.
Happy trading, everybody.